So way back in 2018, I was just new here in Australia. So in the Philippines, I've been active in church, and I told myself I lie low in church, like don't get involved too much because I want to take some rest. But then come December, we have this tradition to attend dawn masses, like 9 dawn masses leading up to Christmas, and I thought, why not attend it? Because it's part of my tradition to complete it. So first decision is I'll go to Chatswood. There is another Don Mass there in the Good Filipino community. And then that's the decision with my friends. But then I think last minute, like 10 p.m., late at night, we saw that there's also Don Mass here in St. Therese Parish, Mascot. And it's just along the way to our work, like into the city, and we can take the bus or the train station or the train station. So last minute we decided, okay, let's go to St. Therese Parish. No expectations. Let's just go there. So 3 a.m. I went to St. Therese Parish, and then I was praying. I saw someone coming out of the sacristy to the altar, preparing zealously the altar, like he's an acolyte, Chris, and he's white out. And I was like, oh, I know that guy, but I don't know where I met him. But I know innately that I would have met him somewhere, but actually not. But maybe that's the tug of like the spirit, or maybe something that God has something for him and for myself. But then I said, okay, he's cute. He's cute in his white. Fine. And later on, I said, "Oh, there's a good community in the church, and I'm a person who loves volunteering." And I volunteered myself. Like I told myself that I take a break, but because I think if serving is innate in you, like you will feel that there's something missing. So I volunteered myself to read a certain reading for the 9 day dawn mass, and then he helped me look for the reading. And I'm kind of stubborn around guys. So I said, oh no, I can do it, and I took a photo. So that, that's still not the start of everything, but I'm seeing him. I don't know if he sees me, but I found him very attractive in that sense, because I one thing that I'm praying for a man is someone who's serving in church. And there he is in front of the altar, God telling me, oh, there's that guy in the altar serving. And I think the day I read, he congratulated me after the mass because he said, oh, you read well and good job. And I was, of course, as a woman, we have this term in the Philippines for killing. I felt like, ooh, butterfly in my stomach.
Very flattered.
Very flattered. Very flattered. Then, but after that, we didn't get to talk again. For me, that's the first time I met him. So whenever people ask us, when is the first time? I have a different set. He has a different set.
Because unfortunately at 5 a.m. in the morning, I'm not very awake, and I didn't remember too much of that encounter, believe it or not, as embarrassing as it sounds. So for me, the first time we met and got to know each other a bit more was a few months later, around March, when our parish was preparing for the Stations of the Cross reenactment, which we do every year. We each, have a character and we act, and we help the community to relive the Passion of Christ. And on the second rehearsal, before it started, I was setting up in the hall, making sure everything's ready, and no one was there yet. And along came our parish priest, our assistant priest at the time, Father Emmanuel, and he had with him Raz. And he said, oh, this is Raz, and she'd like to be a part of the Stations of the Cross. I said, okay, great. And here's the script. What kind of character do you want to play? And yeah, that was the first time I really had a conversation with her.
What did I answer again? What character did I want to?
She wanted to play a bad character. She didn't want to be an angel or something good. She wanted to be like a bad thief or someone, with a bit of personality.
That's a lot easier to act than like, yeah, than act like I'm a very good person. Yeah, but after I think when the two of us get aligned, that we really had a close interaction is during COVID, when we really have no choice. When we work together, because whenever people are saying that COVID is a curse or COVID like everything that COVID brings is bad. For me, it's also a blessing because the two of us get the opportunity to work very closely together. Like we have the young adults group, we were leading the group, and then everything went online. We needed to edit videos. We like he's the very first person I talked, and we're talking like planning everything, staying late night online, talking to each other, and like having service as our love language at the same time, and serving God is also a priority for us. Like it kind of really developed the relationship between the two of us. So yeah.
Working together on church projects.
Yeah, and that's where we work closely with Fiona and David. So, yeah, so yeah.
So that's the story of how we met.
How we developed as a couple. As we started as stranger, completely stranger at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. And then yeah, as a couple getting married soon. Yeah. And we're excited.
Very excited.
Grateful for that.
I think the first time I was very impressed with Raz was once we were at a meeting for like community development at our church and pastoral planning. And afterwards, we were just talking in the corridor while waiting for some other parishioners to finish to leave the room. And just mid-conversation, Raz noticed that somebody was carrying something heavy in the distance. And she just dropped the conversation, ran to this lady and helped her carry this heavy box out to her car. And I don't know, at that moment, some light bulb went off or something happened, and I thought, here's a person who's, aware of the needs of people around her and willing to leave everything to help. And as I got to know her over the next few months, I could see that she's a very dedicated person, very committed, and always looking for opportunities to serve, to love her neighbor, to love God. It's her commitment and service to her friends, to our parish, and to God was very evident. And that's what really drew me towards her.
Yeah, you can use that one. Yeah, for me, I mentioned earlier, like one thing that really got me attracted to him is his consistency and his like service in church. Because I actually someone told me, also read in the book, that when you're praying for the one, and you need to be specific of what are the non-negotiables, what are the negotiables, what are the must-haves. So I wrote my non-negotiables, and one of them is I really pray for a man who will serve God, not because I serve God, because it means it did not come naturally, but with him, it's really part of his blood or his system that he will serve God. He loved God so much and willing to do everything in church. He's like every time we have an activity, it's always, "Hey Chris, can you do this? Hey Chris, can you do it?" And I can see him like doing it actually, not just because people ask him to do it, but it's because it's innate in him that but through service, he's showing his love for God. That's the very thing that I really admire and draw me to him. And I think it's also the reason being is that, of course, like one of my love language is service. So how good would it be then that I'll be part of that journey where he would like share the service to me or share it with me, and it's a good common ground for us because we're aligned in terms of how we love God, on how we serve God, especially in church. It's not just because I hammered him or he hammered me, but it's because it's natural, it's in there. And the second one is his love for his family, like his grandma and his mom. They said, for you to understand how a man will treat his wife, look at how he looks or he treats the queen, who is his mom or his grandma. And I have seen that as we progress through from friends, or no, from common people only, to being friends. And then later on, when I go visit here in their house, I saw that, and that really drew me closer and very attracted to him, which he didn't know up until now. Yeah, so for the young, like for the ladies, I always say that always list your non-negotiables. Pray on it to God. Be the person that God wants you to be, and at the same time, like cherish that, stick to it, because God will bless you more than your non-negotiables, and that's what God did to me. I have a list of my non-negotiables, and He is more than that. He is more than that list, and it's not because I just prayed for that, but it's because it's God's grace to give them to me, and to give them and send them to me. Yeah, that's it. So I we were in a picnic, and I asked him, "Where is this relationship leading to?" Because for me, I don't want to waste my time in a relationship that really doesn't have any objectives. And he clearly answered, Chris clearly answered that he wants it, like whenever he enters a relationship, it's leading up to marriage. Which aligns with what I am praying for, like as an answer. I'm thankful to God because it means that we're aligned on that level. Because for a woman like me, I really pray to God, whatever relationship I am entering into, it would be for marriage. And and I'm thankful because He sent a man who has the same vision. Because even before I entertain how I feel for him, or even like really had a crush on him, I discerned, God, I know this might lead up to something else. I need your guidance. Please guide me. Then, because I really wanted to be for marriage. And that led the way that, okay, it's not serious to talk about marriage.
Yeah, it was a bit surprising to have that question put to you 1 month and a half into a relationship. But at the same time, I respect it because it's all about having a shared vision. Where are we heading together? And a lot of people tell me, how come you didn't ask Raz out earlier? We were friends for quite a long time. And that's because I wanted to discern myself, the vocation of marriage, and make sure that, we were the right ones, and this is the way God wanted it to be. And uh, that's why when I went into the relationship, my mindset was to ultimately get married to her. So it wasn't too hard to answer that tricky question that she gave me. Yeah. And I'm thankful because of that answer. If you called her anything else, I was really nervous. But yeah, God is good. God's grace is really abundant. That He really put us on the same phase at the same time, the right time. Not yeah, not too early, not too late. So yeah, it's one thing. Yeah. We've been fortunate enough to participate in the Catholic Care Marriage course. Our parish priest recommended it, and we absolutely got so much out of it. It was great. And everything from understanding your relationship and finding the right words to express different parts of the relationship or different challenges, and then being given a whole set of tools to use in your relationship. It was very valuable, and we have been using the techniques from there as we progressed. And just as an example, like understanding love languages, understanding the concept of bidding and debt associated with bidding in a relationship, and then using tools like the family of origin to look at the history of how I was brought up and how she was brought up and how we'll meet in a common ground, conflict resolution tools, speaker listening techniques. Yeah, we even we have magnets that cover some of these tools. It's pretty. Yeah. I use them sometimes to remind me I should get listener in other conversations. And what else? Yeah, what are the social media? Like I think during our third or fourth month, we
we committed ourselves like looking in social on YouTube, like some marriage course seminars. During that time, he hasn't proposed yet. So we just thought, okay, if we really want this to lead up to marriage, like let's try it. There are resources in YouTube, and there was this good one from like Alpha Group, I think. It was good, but yeah, we did like because we're also busy with our day-to-day jobs. It was somehow difficult, but then yeah, that's another thing. And at the same time, we read a lot of books, like spiritual, inspirational books. Like I usually read this preacher from the Philippines, Brother Bo Sanchez, and yes, really good teachings or really good materials on how you can be the woman or a person that God wants you to be, like filling in your love tank through God before even like filling it first with for others, because you cannot give what you don't have yet. So yeah, those kinds of books that are inspirational. Like sometimes, like when we were still friends, I will share it to him. So like to help him as to build him as a person,
Yeah.
not just because I like him, but it's something that's worth sharing. Different materials, like we tried exhausting everything. And thanks be to God, we kind of used them. We're using them. Yeah. One thing that I really find good about is being in a Catholic church is the community, especially where we belong in church. You will see a lot of couples serving together, being part of the welcoming community, like singing together in the choir. So having seen those kinds of couples in church and them encouraging the two of us instead of pulling us up, like whenever we have disagreements, they will like really set us apart. They really support us, and seeing them serve together really build up the desire to grow together in church and serving God. And I think that's for me that really built me up. Like I was even promising myself, if I get married to Chris, even if we're not dating, if I get married to Chris, this is how I want us to look like. I pray us to look like. And yeah, I have those promises, and he came.
I think for me, it's the example of
Yeah.
our parishioners and also my family was, I think, biggest influence for me. Seeing my parents as a married Catholic couple, and also asking them for advice, because often it's hard to make decisions on your own. Discernment is good to come from the community as well. So thankfully, my parents knew Raz before, almost before I did. They knew her quite well, and yeah, as I talked to them about her, uh, they supported me in my decision, and yeah, they advised me as well. So definitely, our parishioners and our families,
Yeah.
definitely where we, through our
Influences, inspirations.
Yeah. The number one thing for me, which I did not expect I'd be saying, if you asked me before getting into a relationship, was actually having someone I could share my faith with and also open up my feelings to at a deeper level. That's something we've been learning, this concept of openness and really pouring out your full heart to someone and explaining how you feel and what you're thinking. Usually that was just between me and God, but now I'm sort of sharing that with another person. It's a real blessing, and it helps a person mature, helps a person develop and learn to overcome challenging situations. Having Raz here as a support, as a friend, as a mentor, and also someone who I mentor, it's a shared relationship of openness, was and is truly a blessing.
So for me, it's having someone to like join my life with, or my like, to have someone to share the journey of walking my faith and my trust in God beside me. And like there is this illustration in this book that we're planning to share, that there are two cows sharing the yoke. Yeah. So I'm thankful because the two of us share the same faith, are of the same pace, same values, almost similar with everything. Right? But I'm more talkative than him, or sometimes it is different. But having to have shared that journey with someone, I think that's the best blessing I can have. Because it would be difficult if I would be walking to ahead or he is walking to ahead of me. It's God's grace that we are walking together.
Side by side.
Side by side.
No one behind, no one in front.
Yeah, no one behind, no one in front. It's really together. And if one is slow, someone slows down. So yeah, it's always that case. Chris always slows down for me. Yeah, so like it's difficult to imagine a husband or soon to be husband and wife trying to journey together when they're not in the same mind and same spirit. And I think that one thing is something is the best blessing I can really thank God for as we journey together. Yeah, so if imagine a yoke wherein he will try to walk towards the left or walk towards ahead of me, that yoke wouldn't really like a cow like caravan. We'll be pulling each other. So yeah, I can't imagine myself like being on that situation, but God is really graceful and grateful with His promises that we are on the same ground, we are in the same mindset, same things, same spirit.
It's probably when we overcommit to things, when we pile up our schedule so much that we can't find time to do the basic things like spending quality time with each other, or we find ourselves doing things out of routine or out of obligation or out of guilt. That when that puts that kind of stress on a person, that's quite a big challenge. And when we're not giving ourselves that quality time as a couple, we actually tend to drift, and we need to repair that drift. So that's what we found quite challenging. Yeah. So to address that, we're very careful and prioritize different activities. And,
and I think one thing that also helped is that thing in our marriage course where you have a 20-minute conversation together each day.
It's one of the things they advise.
Yeah, they advise us to do that. And yeah, thankfully, like there are times that it's difficult to do, but most of the time we were able to resolve things together, journey together. Like if we can't really resolve, at least we shared it rather than someone keeping it to himself or to herself. So yeah, I think those things really helped build up our relationships. Like we don't know what else is ahead of us, especially when we get married. But as much as we can go back to basic, and God enlightens us to go back to basic, how we knew each other, how we started out together. So we'll work well.
Yeah, and that's how we'll overcome bigger challenges in the future.
Yeah. For the two of us, God being the center of the relationship is always something that really matters most in terms of Catholic or Christian faith. Because for us, the best relationship anyone can have is anything that is founded in Him, with Him being your best wingman, being the best person or best guide, best protector, and best tailor for any relationship. Like having Him there at the center in every decision, in every step that we take, having God, asking for our discernment, for the gift of discernment, and praying to Him and trusting Him in everything. I think that's how our faith really taught us about, and we're really giving our best to have in a relationship. We still have some lapses at times, but we always try to let's step back and trust it to God, trust His plan. So and Chris is his favorite Bible verse.
It's a bit tricky sometimes when you think, how do we make God the center of our relationship? How do you physically do that? And thankfully I came across a very beautiful Bible passage, which I hope I can share. That's from Proverbs 3:5, where it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Never rely on what you think you know. Remember the Lord in everything you do, and He will show you the right way. Never let yourself think that you are any wiser than you are. Simply obey the Lord and refuse to do wrong. If you do, it will be like good medicine healing your wounds and easing your pains. And like I found those words very comforting and consoling. Especially seek the Lord in everything you do, and He'll show you the way. So I think just a simple act of turning to Him when we have a challenge or when we have something we're uncertain about helps us keep God at the center, and thankfully that's been I think without that I don't know if it's been so important to our relationship. And like I said, it's not necessarily a relationship leading to marriage, which requires God at the center, but we found that all our friendships, when it's centered on God, are really prosperous and very fruitful.
For me, I already seen his commitment in church, but being the object of his commitment, his consistency, and the level of service that he has, that's one thing I can say overwhelmed, but something that really I admire most, and I'm very surprised about. Like, whoa, a guy can really do this. A man like this really exists. And I am the object of such kind of things. And I always tell myself, I think like if I'm feeling this way already, what more God looking at how he seriously serves him and does everything, all his commitment, all his consistency, like he's consistent with gratitude journal, his prayers, he's very consistent in everything. And being the object of that, if in God's perspective, God's perspective, it's something that you really value and you really keep and treasuring in you. And if God is looking at us right now, of course He's looking at us, He would really tell him that, well done, my servant.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start blushing like a tomato soon. For me, something I never predicted or foresaw would be how mature a person can be. Like Raz is incredibly mature in ways which I guess I wasn't as mature. For example, whenever I felt angry or felt let's say jealous about something or felt tired or something, I thought, gosh, if I tell Raz about this, that's it. She's gonna lose it, or she's gonna break up with me or something like that. But I always found that when I told her about things, she was very accepting, accommodating, willing to teach me and help me, like, what should I do in this situation? So she had this maturity about her, which I didn't expect from the other person in a relationship, and that allowed me to be even more open. And it was, a very beautiful, a beautiful gift to have someone like Raz, who's,
But it really requires patience on both sides.
true.
Yeah, it's a journey, like him being open to me, myself also being open to him. Sometimes because like we're kind of afraid of how each other will react.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, oh, you felt it too. Oh, I felt it too. But yeah, it's really a journey. Like it's a matter of patience and acceptance. I cannot say that I'm really mature, but it's like I remember what Father Valentin said. It's a matter when you love someone, you accept them. You accept that person. It's a matter of acceptance. Yeah, that's how it should be.
Yeah, so I think that capacity for acceptance, I never imagined that would be something that well, at least from my experience, I think it's very important to pray and to pray and to ask God for the gift of discernment, because marriage is a vocation, and vocation is born out of prayer, in my opinion. That would be my advice.
Maybe like, to connect with Chris as well. Like when you pray, you ask from God that He makes you and helps you and guide you to be the person He ought to be. And while also you're praying for that, also seek for His guidance for the person for the person on the other side of the relationship. Although you haven't met yet, that God also make that person the right one. Maybe not for you, but for someone else. Like at least you're praying both ways. And also like nurture whatever state you are in right now. Like there could be some waiting season. Like I waited a lot and prayed a lot as well. I can go impatient anytime, but when I trusted God, I said, okay, on this journey of waiting, Lord, what do you want me to learn as an individual, as a person, as a woman? Who should I be? Lead me to that kind of person and show me the way. And having that prayer, and I'm not that kind of person who say, "Oh, I'm not yet in a relationship when I get married, when I have a boyfriend." But then when I accepted the fact that it's all in God, I let Him lead me, and in a very unexpected and very great way, He blessed me. He blessed me with a lifetime, lifetime person or partner to journey, husband to be the journey together, sharing same faith, sharing same mind and same spirit with me. And it's something I'm grateful for during the waiting praying season. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because it reminds me of someone I know who's myself. When I was young, like when I was in my teens, I always imagined I'd get married, at the age of 21, straight out of high school. I'd meet someone and the relationship would go flourishing. And I think I got a bit cranky as I went through university, not having found the one.
Yeah.
And it was only when I started in my first year of work when I got very tired of how I was feeling about not being married yet or not on the path of getting married, still haven't met someone, that I said, that's it. I surrender it completely. I am done, desiring my own intention of getting married. I'll leave it in God's hands. And at that moment, when I surrendered everything and completely emptied myself of my own selfish desires, that's when I actually found peace. And those years afterwards, God really worked in me to form me into the person I am today. I was blessed enough to have someone share with me a book of one of the saints, Saint Faustina, which really changed my life. And I kept learning and being more active in church. And if it wasn't for those things, I don't know if Raz would have liked me when she met me. So, yeah, and at that point, it was like God was saying, okay, now's the time.
Yeah. And I think like a year before, like we were in a relationship, we're kind of feeling that we like each other, and we're like, I'm trying to be impatient, but then I surrender to God. And then looking back, we realized, oh, if both of us rushed, he's having his masteral
I was doing my
office,
master's degree at that time, so
at that
even
time
at the time,
we have so many commitments. So if by then we tried to rush everything, then it would have been a disaster. So God's timing was perfect. Like He waited for him to finish. He like really tested my patience, and yeah, we're here.
so how do we summarize that into like a one-liner advice?
Always pray.
Always pray and be patient, trusting that God knows what you need and will give you in abundance
In the right time,
in the
in
right
the
time.
right place.